I want to get into why, and I love this, why
I thought I was
Nido
catching today. I brought my gear and everything.
You know, when I looked under your desk today and saw those, I knew something was up. But what about Nido? Why he works specifically well with certain pitchers?
Well, I think one of the things that we've learned about Tomas Nido is he's very good at framing the low pitch. That's something that has been an advantage since the time that Noah Syndergaard was here. Nido was one of those guys that they liked because look at him freeze that low ball. But look at his left knee as well. Sometimes he'll go down onto a knee, but at least he tucks that knee inside, and that gives him that ability to get that low ball. So taking a look at that, when I was coming up catching, we were mostly, I think the idea was to stay in this position here, and we weren't really worried about that low ball as much. Nido collapses that knee. Sometimes he'll be on that knee. It gives him a chance to hunch those shoulders and give a better look to the umpire now, who can look from both sides to be able to pull that ball up. And as a catcher, you always want to be going from down to up. Nido does that as well as anybody. But I think the more important thing about this is when you get into this position and have one knee tucked or one knee on the ground, how do you throw? Well, let's look at Nido and how he's been able to be successful as a throwing catcher as well as a framing catcher. Now, we talked about, look at that knee right there. It's tucked. What does he do? He drops and drives right through it, throws from his knee. You got to have that kind of arm strength. But this is Chaz Chisholm. Look at him. Gets a guy that's one of the fastest guys in the MLB with that kind of release. Once again, even on a one bounce, it's on the money. He can get those opposing guys. But look at it from the side. That knee's already down. He drops right to it. Doesn't even have to drive forward and throws him out. Now, when you did that, I mean, looking at that right now is kind of become the norm in the big leagues for catching. Guys that are able to frame start low. Sometimes they start on a knee. But when I was coming up, when there was men on base, you were taught to be a little bit higher. You were taught to be here because the idea was you have to go get the ball, step over the plate, and drive to second base to be able to throw anybody out. Now, that has completely been scrapped, and they start with the down knee, they go right here, and they stay behind the plate, and they have to transfer, much like hitting when you're just weight shifting. Now, catchers just weight shift and throw. Now, where does that potentially come into problems? It comes into problems blocking because these guys are already down here, and if they have to move one way or another, you used to be up and you have to slide right out here. Oh, I love this, sliding out here. And then maybe to the right, you slide out here and you get around it. Now, they figure, hey, we'll sacrifice the balls that are in the batter's box. Big league pitchers are supposed to throw strikes. So now, when they block, it's usually just right in front of them. And they'll have to give up on some of the balls that are out here. That's one of the sacrifices. But Nido is as good as anybody at framing and throwing from this position, and get used to it. You're not going to see the guys blocking the balls in the batter's box anymore. It's just not going to happen.
All right, so I'm going to make my way back in here.
Wow.
I gotta say, I'll get the Tylenol and the Advil, but you move around pretty good still. But a lot of guys, as you're showing right there, a lot of guys get all the way down. I think we saw that in game one of this series, right?
Yeah, you'll see the can at times, and even Nido, especially with nobody on base, they'll get here and they're able to relax. And like I said, you can give that good low target. And Nido keeps his hand right in here, so it's kind of behind the glove, but he can come up to throw still if he needs to.